Hi, I'm Chris Dautel, your Human Resource Manager.
Hi, I'm Jim Larson. I'm the Director of Talent here at Yancey Brothers. And today we want to talk about Yancey's consumer driven health plans and why we believe it's better than most plans out there. So I'm going to start with a question to Chris. Chris, why doesn't Yancey Brothers offer a copay plan?
Well, we've looked at a lot of different plans, and with a copay plan, you pay less for your claims, or at least it feels like that. But in the end, you end up paying more, and so does the company.
Yeah, I know when I was on a copay plan that it felt comfortable because all you did was pay your monthly premiums, and then when you went to the doctor, you paid a minimal amount. But what I learned by getting into the consumer driven health plan is that I actually have an opportunity to make and save money. I become more of a consumer, that's the name, than just a user of a health plan. So I'm really excited about this presentation and what we're going to be able to share with people today.
Well, and even to piggyback on what you're saying there, we are giving you, an employee, the opportunity to really self-insure yourself and then reap the benefits as you would not, as you'd be healthy and you wouldn't have claims. So as Jim alluded to, the CDHP, which you often hear during open enrollment or if you're a new hire, that stands for Consumer Driven Health Plan. And when you do your taxes, sometimes the IRS will ask if you have a high deductible health plan or HDHP, and they are the same thing. So we call it the consumer driven health plan. And we're going to compare that to a traditional copay plan. In fact, we found one of our competitors out there offering this copay plan to entice our employees to work there. And so we did a comparison to see how it really stacks up as best we can. So here we go.
Okay.
What do you ever feel like when you make a claim? I don't know what's going to happen. I might pay $1,000. I might pay nothing.
Absolutely.
There you have it. All right. So there are definitely all those pins and buckets to talk about. Let me explain and kind of decipher a little bit for you because all plans have them. First one being the premium. This is the money you're going to pay, and it's gone. Once you've paid it, it's kind of like your car insurance. You pay that money. Do you get a new car at the end of the year? No. But you've paid maybe $1,000 in car insurance. Here, the base plan is going to cost you roughly $4,800 in a calendar year.
Now, Chris, when you say the base plan, that's for a family, correct?
Yes. So thank you. We're talking about all family level plans. We figure most employees are on the family plans. That's if you have more than two people on the plan. And also, most likely, you're going to be the ones that have actual claims. You're not going to be just doing one preventative a year. So we wanted to talk about the family plans. It is very complicated, and it would take us 2 or 3 times longer to talk about all the different levels of plans that you could potentially enroll in. So then, in addition to the premium, we have a thing called the deductible.
Yeah, Chris, take a minute. Talk about what a deductible is. Things like, do we still get a discount? What's a deductible?
Very good, very good. So, deductible is the money that you pay before the insurance even cuts a check to the provider that you go to. So, but many times you'll get a bill and you'll see they charge you maybe $1,000, but you're only responsible for 120 of it. Well, they've applied a network discount and a few other things and reduced your bill, but the insurance company hasn't actually paid anything yet, and that's what's applying to your deductible, that $120 or whatever it is that you owe at the bottom line.
So I
So
just want to clarify because I know when I first moved out of the old plan that people would say, yeah, but you're going to have to pay full price for everything. It's all going to come out of your pocket. That's not true. We actually still get in-network discounts at a significant rate.
yes, and you'd want to stay in network and ask if your doctor's referring you to another provider that are they in network. Let's verify that first because you definitely reap some benefits there.
Okay.
Now, there's a second part of your deductible on the family plan for the base, and that is I'm part of a family of 6. So if I have a $2,800 deductible on anything that happens to me, and then the rest of the family collectively if they also hit an additional $2,800, that could be $5,600 that I might have in deductibles. But only one person has to hit $2,800 before the insurance will start paying.
Okay.
And that is when the insurance starts paying, they pay 80% of the bill and you pay 20%. So once any one person in your family hits the $2,800 deductible, the insurance actually starts cutting checks and paying 80% of the bill.
And these scenarios are if you have to use it, if you have significant health events where you have to do things, right? That's what
Yep.
we're talking about here. Okay.
Yep.
Because this wouldn't be
Anything.
paid if your family's healthy and you just go for preventive maintenance.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Now, yeah, this would be like if you had to go to an urgent care and get a prescription or things like that, that will incur a bill. Yes, that's where the deductible kind of comes in.
Okay.
Now, there's this other thing called a maximum out of pocket, and this is as the insurance continues to pay that 80%, at some point your 20% and the $2,800 deductible together will add up to $5,000 that you've paid already. And once one person hits that $5,000, then the insurance covers at 100%.
Okay.
So that includes your $2,800 deductible. So you're more than halfway there if you've hit the deductible. Now, this is true also for the whole family. So if another person in your family also has medical expenses, they also have to hit their $2,800, and then they hit their $5,000, and then the insurance covers it 100%. So that is pretty normal. These are three aspects of the plan. That's true for all three of the plans that we're going to look at. The buy-up, the premiums are a little bit more, and that is because your deductible is not only less, but it applies to everybody all at once. So you don't have that second tier deductible. Everybody just has to meet that $2,700 collectively. So somebody has $100, somebody has $1,000, somebody has $500. All that will add up together to hit that deductible. And then there's still the same maximum out of pocket for Yancey's two plans. So you're
Okay.
halfway there with the $2,700, but then you got the 80% that the insurance is covered. They're going to keep covering that until you've paid out a total of $10,000 for two different people, or
Okay.
5,000 for one.
So why would an employee want to get the buy-up? What would be the benefit as
Well, the
opposed to
benefit,
the premium base?
yes. Well, the benefit would be this deductible. So if they know they have more than one person that's got medical expenses, they know for sure they're going to probably spend $2,000 in bills. Maybe there's a surgery on the horizon or something like that. It's definitely going to cover a lot more premiums or a lot more claims over the year before you hit those maximum out of pockets.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So the premium. So let's look at the competitor's copay plan. Well, get ready. Whoa. So that's your premiums on this competitor's copay plan. It is nearly twice as much as our base plan. Now remember, how much of your premiums do you get back?
You don't get any back.
Yeah, you pay that and that's done.
So
So
I just want to clarify there. So if I'm on the premium base health plan that Yancey provides, my premiums that I'm paying monthly are about half of what a premium copay would be
for a family, yep,
for a
compared
family.
to the
Okay.
competitor's copay plan.
Okay.
Yes. So we have that. Well, you think then they shouldn't have very many deductibles or a maximum amount of pocket. Well, nope, they still have those elements as well. So their deductible is, yeah, it's less, $1,000. And then, of course, they have that family element too. So total would be $2,500 of deductible potentially. And then their insurance is also going to pay 80% of the bill once you've hit your deductible, but they still have a maximum out of pocket. It's a little less, but to be honest, not much.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
looking at that, let's stack them all together and just kind of compare them all stacked up together. Remember that your uh, deductible and your maximum out of pocket kind of overlap. So we didn't show the deductible on this chart, but we have our premiums. As you can see, the cheapest premiums are our base plan. The most expensive premiums are this competitor's copay plan.
And this is the true insurance. This is what we pay and we don't get it back.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you're completely healthy, you went in, even if you went in for a preventative checkup, you're still paying that $4,800, or you're still paying that $96.82. Now, if we add in the deductibles, well, the copay is a little less, but as you can see, we are still ahead. And if you had that second family member hitting the deductible, or the maximum out of pocket, excuse me, you can see, even though theirs is a little less, we still come out ahead altogether.
Okay.
So
Okay.
again,
So the thing most people worry about with a high deductible plan is, well, if something major happens, I'm going to have to pay money out of my pocket. I think what they forget to realize is they're paying out of their pocket every month in premiums in something that it's a sunk cost. They'll never get it back. This would only pay out if something actually did happen.
that's correct.
Okay.
And with the exception of going to the doctor and paying your little copay, you are going to have bills that will come to your home that you will have to pay. Well, let's take a look at some scenarios. So you go looking at this in a worst case scenario that doesn't happen to me. My kids, maybe I just want to make sure that if we had to go to the emergency room, that it would be covered. Well, let's start off with the basics. Preventative. If you go and you have to get your checkup, you have to get some blood work. It's preventative, and you have physical. Maybe you got to do a colonoscopy or mammogram or something like that. Those are preventative as well. Yancey actually has a special list of prescriptions that we also call preventative, and they're covered at 100%. So all that's covered at 100%. That actually is unique to Yancey, the additional prescriptions, and you can get that list on our SharePoint or UltiPro.
Hey
But let's
Chris,
just
what are those two other bars there? It says HSA base and HSA buy up.
yeah. So that's what we didn't account for uh, in that previous slide. HSA is a health savings account. This is an actual bank account that we're putting money into for you to pay for some of those initial expenses. And in this scenario, when you did a preventative, and if that's all your family did, well, we've put $1,500 of money in your HSA to cover any expenses, and you didn't have any. We put $1,000 for the buy-up to cover expenses, and you didn't have any. So in fact, those are still sitting in the bank. If you're healthy, you reap a reward, a benefit for having a healthy family, and then all you did was your checkups. Now, I know with kids, that's just probably not going to happen, but uh, in this case, you just banked some money to use in the future. On the copay plan, nothing. You just spent $9,600. You just doubled the amount of money that you paid in premiums, and
Okay.
it's covered $500 worth of claims.
So I just want to clarify. So if I'm on the CDHP base, I paid $4,817 in premiums, but I get $1,500 to use that's given to me. It's mine once Yancey Brothers puts it into the account that I can either use or it can roll over to next year. It doesn't ever
That's
go away, right? If it
that's
doesn't,
correct.
okay.
That's correct. A lot of people get confused. There used to be an old thing, well, it's still around, called an FSA, where it was use it or lose it.
Mhm.
That is not the health savings account, HSA.
Okay, great.
So that's about $500 worth of claims that get covered at 100%. And just be mindful, if you're a new hire, the amount that Yancey puts in is prorated based on the month that your insurance kicks in. And that's on the back of the benefits guide. But let's take a look at some other scenarios. Like, this doesn't happen in my family. I have 4 kids. There's 6 of us. We're going to go to the doctor one time, at least. So with this scenario, we see, and a doctor visit after the network discount and whatnot is probably about $120. So what's going to happen? You're going to have to pay a bill that comes to your house for $120. But looking at the scenario, you actually didn't pay out of your pocket $120.
Because Yancey Brothers seeded it with either 1,500 or 1,000.
Yeah. And if you look at the slide here, you see that you got 1380 still hanging out, or 880 still hanging out in your HSA. But if you notice this little sliver of a line here for the copay plan, well, you had to pay an additional $40 to go to that doctor.
Oh,
So really, at Yancey, you actually didn't pay any more. You actually got 100% coverage in some ways for that doctor visit.
Okay, great.
Let's take a look. Let's say you went to the doctor 6 times. These are not preventative, so your preventatives are covered. But let's say you had 6 people in your family had the sniffles, whatnot. You went to the doctor. We're going to still say it's about $120. And in this scenario, you see that, yep, you whittled down your HSA, but in both plans, you still have some left in the bank, quite literally. But you see with our copay plan, you still had to pay another $240. So really, in Yancey's, you actually haven't paid anything yet other than your premium, which is significantly less. But in a copay plan, you just paid an additional $240. So you see how this is stacking up?
Absolutely. The plan's looking better and better.
Now, things happen, and one of the things that people get afraid of is prescriptions. So let's say that you have a prescription, and I know I hear about it. Prescriptions aren't covered in different things, but let's say you had a brand name prescription that you just had to have that, and it was $100 a month, and I've heard of them getting even more expensive than that. So in our case, yep, if it's $100 a month with the discount and whatnot, it's $1,200 a year. For the base plan, you're going to still have a little left in your HSA, but it will cost most of that. In the buy-up plan, you're going to have to start paying a little bit for that prescription. But guess what? The copay plan, they actually charge $75 copay for a brand name prescription. So that prescription still costs you $75. You still paid an additional $900 on top of your very pricey premiums to get that prescription.
And sometimes the copay folks will say, yeah, but I get a discount. So if it's an expensive, let's say it's 250, I'm still only paying 75. That applies to our prescription plan too, because I know I've had to get prescriptions and they've come back at $1 or 75 cents. So we're still getting major discounts on the things for our prescriptions as well, right?
Very good. Yes, we are getting discounts, and there are other ways to get the best price. And in some cases, with the insurance game, you would want to check out this thing called GoodRx, and in some cases, you can get something that was charging $150 for $30, and we can work with our insurance company to actually get that reapplied to our deductible. You'd have to call me or Taylor Collins to talk about that. But that's a little bit on the prescription prescription drugs. Let's talk about something a little bit more meaty. Let's say one of your children had to go to the ER. Let's say that cost you $5,000 worth of claims. Well, you're going to use up all your HSA in both cases, and then you're going to hit your deductible for that one person, and then it's going to start paying 80% of the bill. And when all is said and done, you're paying either $1,700 or $2,100 depending on your base or buy-up. But look we're adding in what you've paid, and you're still not even reaching the minimum mark that your sunk cost that you would have on the copay plan, and you would still pay another $1,800, which is actually more than you end up paying on our base plan.
So even on the copay plan, an emergency room visit isn't just a set cost. It's not just $75 or $40 deductible. You're paying more.
No. Yes,
Okay.
you are paying more. So it's a good point to make there. So you think you're covered more, but to be honest, you're still going to have a bill, and it might feel like a smaller bill, but actually, when you're looking at this scenario, it might not be. Well, where things really, some of you might be asking, like, why would anybody ever do the buy-up plan at Yancey? Well, let me show you. For one, the buy-up plan, the deductible is half if you're employee only. I would suggest if you have medical bills and you are an employee only, the buy-up plan might actually be a pretty good deal. But and as a family, because they're grouped together, it takes two to make the buy-up plan work. So let's say your child went to the ER and the parent had the 6 doctor visits we talked about earlier. So we have the ER and the 6 doctor visits here. We've used up our HSA in both cases. Yep, look at that. The buy-up plan or the base plan, you do end up paying quite a bit more in additional costs, whereas the buy-up plan, a bit less. Look over here, your copay plan with 2 people, you're still paying $3,000, a little more than $3,000 for this $6,900 worth of claims. So
But Chris, my total out of pocket for the year on the copay plan now is up to $12,862, where with the high deductible plan, the base one for Yancey Brothers, even though I had to come out of pocket after paying premiums, my total cost out of pocket is still substantially less, 8,477 compared to 12,862. I mean, that's still a great savings.
yes, yeah, and that's our point. And so not only are you saving this money, but on the back end, Yancey is saving money as well. And this is why over the last couple of years we didn't have to raise rates. We took a look at the whole situation. Now that's not always guaranteed, but it is a benefit not only for you, and that is the primary reason why we do it, but it also overall is a benefit for us as a company because we can keep the rates low. I wanted to point out let's go worst case scenario. Let's say the parent has a surgery and is in the hospital for a short while, and a child still had that ER visit, so we combine those. And the surgery would be about a $13,000 claim. That's not unusual. I have seen $400,000 or $500,000 claims. Those are big deals. And then that ER visit still $5,000. We've used up our HSA that Yancey's provided, and you can see here that the base plan does end up costing more in the calendar year than the buy-up plan. And so this is the scenario where that buy-up plan kind of kicks in when you have 2 people in your family that ended up having high medical costs. And so you end up paying quite a bit less. When it comes to the bills, you see that you're only paying $3,700 as opposed to $65, but and overall you're paying less. And look over here.
Still more.
Still more,
Still more.
significantly more. And in
Everybody,
fact, go ahead.
I was just going to say, everybody thinks that the copay plan is such a wonderful way to not have to pay as much, but it truly does cost us more when we look at it like this. So great slides.
Yeah.
Chris, there's 2 things I wanted to point out. If you have known medical situations or issues, the high deductible plan is definitely the way to go with the buy-up. If you don't have known things, probably the CDHP, but you might look at that blue and say, but Jim, Chris, either way, I really don't want to have to come out of pocket to pay additional money. Well, there's something you can do with that. Chris, I know
Yeah.
I've talked about it, but you can actually, in your paycheck, put a little money aside to go into your health savings account to build that dollar amount up. And I don't know if people are going to want to do this, but let's say instead of paying 48.17, you just say, you know what, looking at that, I'm going to throw an extra $200 pay period into my health savings account, or 300 a month, whatever that amount is. Over the course of a year or 2, if you don't have any major medical issues, you can have enough built up in your health savings account to pay for all of this in the case that something catastrophic like a ER visit or a surgery came up, and you don't have to come out of pocket. And for guys like you and me, there's a tax advantage, because when you put money in a health savings account out of your paycheck, it goes the full amount. There's no taxes taken out. So right there, you're already saving 25% that would go out in taxes. So it's a wonderful way to build it up. And Chris, I'm going to ask you again, who owns the health savings account? Who owns the money in a health savings account?
Well, that money is yours. As soon as we
Right.
direct deposit it, that goes in your bank account. You leave Yancey, we hope not. It's yours. It's in your bank account. And in fact, the key thing that we haven't said at all here is that when you retire, that balance is available to you to continue to use towards any medical expenses, including the premiums that you'll have for Medicare or Medicare supplements. You can use that money even to pay those premiums. So it is a second 401k for your medical expenses, so you don't have to use your actual 401k for medical expenses. So it could, as you are healthy year after year, or as you and your wife are past or spouse are past childbearing years, and you're not having big medical expenses, it would still be a good idea to put money in your HSA. Now let me show you, like, let's say you just want a richer plan. Well, that's kind of the point here. let's just use this copay as a benchmark. I want to pay for a richer copay plan. What happens if I just pay the same amount into the HSA plan instead of asking for a copay plan and paying that amount in sunk costs? And this is the part where you're actually insuring yourself. So you'll reap the benefits of either having low claims, or when you do have claims, you'll be able to pay it outright instead of having the additional charge like we do in the copay plan. So the difference is $4,800 or $3,000 depending on your base or buy-up. So that would be an additional amount you would want to put in there. But you don't have to put in that full amount in there because Yancey's already putting in some money there. So actually, all you would have to put in there is the $3,000 or the $2,000, $3,300 or $2,000. And I think I worked that out to be about $200 more a paycheck. Might have actually been a $200 more a month, $280 more a month. You all watching this could probably do the math real quickly. Divide by 24 for a paycheck if you're salary, or 26 if you're hourly. But you can easily add that money in and technically pay the same amount as you would as a copay. And guess what that would do? That would pay claims of about $4,500 on the buy-up plan, and it would be dollar for dollar on the base plan as far as claims that you could have that year and cover or save. For next year, you'd have another $5,000 almost that if something happened next year, you would have already in the bank and you wouldn't need to save. And just as a point, look at how much more money you would spend on the copay plan if you in fact had that much in claims that year. You still have to pay another $2,500, and you'd have to pay taxes on that $2,500 that you spend paying down those claims. Whereas here you're saving about 25%. I think I did the math real quick. That $3,300, you're probably saving about $1,300 a year in taxes.
Yeah. So, and let me share my personal situation. I did that. When I went to the high deductible plan off of the copay plan, I did put extra money per paycheck and I banked it. And after a couple years, I was at a point to where no matter what happened to me or my family, I wouldn't have to pay a dime out of my personal savings or checking account because it was all built up over there. And then you can make the choice to reduce that amount or you can do other. But the cool part was I knew I had that money set aside. So I wasn't as worried or scared about medical expenses anymore because I knew I was covered and I could take a look at, every month they send you a statement and you can see what your account is. Now, if you do have to use it, it goes down a little bit. But Chris, I don't know that we reminded them every year Yancey Brothers is going to continue to put money in your health savings account too.
That's
so
correct.
Between what Yancey's given me every year and the extra I put in, it only took me a short period of time to build up enough in my health savings account to cover everything in the worst case scenarios. So just think about that, everybody, as you begin to build your health savings accounts.
Well, and I'll also throw in there just this last thing, and this would be up to you as an employee and researching your HSA bank. I know Optum Bank is the bank we use, offers like an investment account where you can actually invest that money that you have if you've built up $20,000 into that account. I think you have to have a minimum balance of like $2,800 or something like that. But they can start investing in it. And remember, that money grows, you still don't pay taxes on it. You take it out, you don't pay taxes on it. Again, so it's a great way to actually save for that eventuality when you will have medical expenses, which you will not have the option if you're on a copay plan. So we believe we've done our best to offer you the best, and we realize it doesn't always feel like it when you get the bills. My wife has personally told me that, why do we even have insurance? I have to pay all this money every time we have a claim. And I explained, like, no, we're coming out ahead, and it's much better. And you also definitely need that insurance to cover that big event that might happen at some point in your life.
Absolutely. So it just seems like a way that our employees have the opportunity to kind of manage their own health costs. They've got an
Yes.
opportunity to bank money that doesn't need to be spent, like on the copay, if you look to the far right, that 9,682 goes away every year and it just disappears. On our base plan, it's 4,800. It's almost half. And then if you get money from Yancey Brothers and then you put a little money aside, I mean, look at the charts, Chris. I mean, it's still, as you look at this, the copay plan is still significantly more expensive overall. I mean, so I think this kind of proves why Yancey Brothers has chosen to go to a high deductible health plan instead of a regular copay.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you all taking the time to listen this far into our video, and want to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the next update. Hopefully you are watching this because you are subscribed and you saw that there was a new video posted. So we really appreciate that, and we hope to serve you with more videos in the future.
All right. Take care,
Bye for
everybody.
now.
Be healthy.